All right. Systems repair. I went out and good morning. We'll get started here in about a minute, probably a little less than that. All right, it's 8 o'clock and we'll go ahead and get started.
Good morning and welcome everyone. My name is Tracy Irby and I'm the director here at the Center for Women Entrepreneurs. We are part of the larger Jane Nelson Institute for Women's Leadership. The Institute is dedicated to preparing more women to take on successful roles in business and public service. There are 3 specialized centers. There's our center, the Center for Student Leadership, and the Center for Student, the Center, there are so many centers, and the Center for Women in Government. And we actually have someone from there joining us today as well. But we'll go around and introduce everybody. Our center, the Center for Women Entrepreneurs, was funded by the state legislature in 2015 just to promote women entrepreneurs anywhere in the state of Texas. And you don't have to be a part of the university system to take advantage of the services that we offer. So what we like to do is, and I'm sure speakers love it too, get to know who's in the room. So we'll go around the room and if everybody would just briefly say their name and their business. Hannah, you want to start?
Hello everyone, I'm Hannah McGinty. I'm the executive director for Current Media and Modern Memoir. We do testimonial videos and wedding videos.
Hi, I'm Emily Klingman. I'm founder and occupational therapist at Summit Concussion Therapy. I haven't officially opened yet, but I specialize in pediatric occupational therapy with a concussion focus.
Good morning, everybody. I wore my maroon today, but I'm not actually with TWU. My name is Helen Kendall. I work for Boy Scouts of America. And common misconception is that we're just boys. We're not. We're boys and girls. So I'd be happy to connect with any of you about that.
Morning, I'm Heather Walker. I own Bright Smiles by Heather, private studio here on the square where you can get your teeth whitened by a professional, but not at those scary prices.
Hi, I'm Felicia Hinton, operator of the Connect Events and Retreat, which is especially in elopes and retreats just outside of Windstar.
Hello, I'm Susan Whitmer. I am a yoga teacher, an artist, and an entrepreneur. I just retired from TWU on December 31st, so now I'm starting my entrepreneur journey.
Hello, I'm Wanda Lise Turner. I actually work here at the Institute, but I'm at one of those many centers. I'm at the Center for Women in Government.
Hi, I'm Robin Harris and I work for Stoveton. I'm the community coordinator there and we are a woman-owned co-working space just off of downtown. We're actually partners with TWU and we do the Accelerate Her program. Got a couple of our humans here today too. So yeah, I'd love to connect with you on anything co-working or
Hi, I'm Connie Legas. I am owner of Yellow Rose Paint Party and Mobile Paint Party business here in Denton.
Hi, I'm Latoya Lawrence. I own Ruby Chicken and Waffles Food Trailer. We specialize in flavor fried chicken and fluffy waffles.
Oh, I'm Nikki. I'm a student here at TWU. I work at the Career Connection Center. I was asked to come to this to kind of get a little bit more business know-how.
Yeah. Nice. Well, welcome everyone. I'd like to introduce you to our staff as well. We have Donalisa Stenier. She is our associate director. We have Kimberly Nielsen online. She's our online hostess. Christina Mortel is online as well. She is our small business advisor. And we have Barbara Ranking, there she is, and she'll be monitoring Facebook. So everybody in here, or for all of you online, you can put your information in the chat box as well. Okay. Next, we want to introduce our speaker for today. There it is, I got it. Okay, Frazier is an Emmy Award-winning entrepreneur, attorney, and best-selling author. She was named one of the top 10 inspiring Black women in marketing and communications to follow in the US, and one of DCEO magazine's most powerful leaders in North Texas. She is the CEO of Think3 Media, which provides marketing and communication services for innovative businesses and brands. Her work has been highlighted both locally and nationally as a go-to source. In 2022, Leah was recognized by the Public Relations Society of America's Dallas chapter as a top 40 under 40, honoring in public relations and communications. In her free time, Leah is also a certified mediation instructor and can be found leading classes at Breathe Mediation Wellness in Highland Park. So I'm so excited to have you speak today. We always love when you come, and you always have such great information.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do I just stand here the whole time?
It will
Or
follow you.
it'll have the slides up there.
Yeah.
Who
Don't
cares?
miss getting those, and when you manage that will follow you.
Well, I'd like to say hi to everyone and thank you so much for having me again. I think the last time I was here, I did a joint presentation with Keisha Whaley of Brass Tacks Collectives. We talked marketing, we talked PR, but today we're going to talk about communications essentials for small businesses, which I'm kind of excited about. I built in some exercises, so don't get too comfortable. We're gonna get to know one another. Ooh. And then, and for online, I know how it is, you know, especially if you're a virtual and they tell you about to go to a breakout room and all of a sudden you see that number decline, people start exiting. Don't do that. This is gonna be great. So we're gonna talk a little bit about strategies and tips to effectively communicate for and within your business. What does that look like as a business owner? Because what I've seen a lot in my practice is there's a lot of things as startups and entrepreneurs that get like the end of the spectrum. Marketing is the last thing we think about, and public relations. And communication falls between both of those. But we're kind of like the last resort. We spend all our money on everything else, and it all matters. Maybe branding, logo, website, social media is huge. Accounting, and as founders, you are all of those things, but oftentimes how we communicate within and even externally outside of our business, kind of the last thing we think about, which that's fine. So I'm here today to tell you some fails and how we can make it better. So about Think3 Media, I started Think3 Media. I left practice of law in 2015. I was just over it. Started my own communications and PR agency. So the way I try to explain it is like, there's me, I'm Beyonce's publicist hiding behind the bush, and you guys are Beyonce. We're there, we make you look good. We make sure that everybody's taking the right picture of you when you're on TV. We make sure that everything's getting highlighted perfectly, but we're kind of behind the scenes. So we make sure that the business looks good, that all the branding is on point, and you're the star. So whether you have a personal brand or business brand, you're the star. But I'm Yvette. I don't want to be in the front, okay? I want to be in the bush. So we've worked with a lot of businesses from small to large, primarily in communications and PR. We work with a lot of our news stations here. We're one of their value partners when it comes to storytelling. So I help a lot of small business owners hone in on like, what's the story? Because you get so attached to your baby, and you think that what you think is important is what everybody wants to hear, when really there's probably a deeper story, like maybe your why. Maybe you are a mom of 3 that started this business and ship the babies off to wherever you ship them off to, and you're working on your business 40 hours a week. And then you were talking about chicken and waffles. So maybe yours is like, it rivals Roscoe's or something like, or it's the Roscoe's of North Texas. So those are the type of stories we try to pull out of folks because we know what the media and the press want. And so sometimes we're the bad guy, but other times we're in the bush. We did it. Okay. So today we're going to talk more on the communication spectrum, maybe hopefully dispelling some myths, hopefully getting you out of the rut. But when it comes to business communication, there's two types. So oftentimes we only focus on external. We think about how we're communicating to other people. Maybe we're thinking about what are we saying on social media. But there's two types of communications with your business, internal and external. So internal is going to be how am I communicating to my employees? I will even say contractors. Internal communication, how do I communicate to my stakeholders? There's a totally different lens and language that you have to use when you're having a board meeting, for those of you that have boards, or stakeholders, half the time they just want numbers, okay? So how you communicate to them or how you present to them is entirely different how you're gonna talk in a very nurturing language to your employees. Also sharing stockholders. So on the flip side, also within your business communication, you have to think, how do I communicate externally? So that's gonna be agencies, that's gonna be potential partnerships or sponsors for your business. Maybe it's your potential customers. And also there's a very particular way, as we specialize in PR, that you have to communicate to the press and media. How many folks here have ever tried to pitch themselves possibly for news, radio, TV? Anyone? Two? We don't know? One. So when you did your pitch, how did you, did you do it the same? Was it a game? Did you have to figure out what the right lingo was in order to get the hook? Were you successful the first time?
The first time I was, because I went through like a process, like a mentorship program first, and then we was able to do the pitch, and I was able to receive $2,000.
But you got help.
Yeah, I got help, but then the second time I did it, I had to tweak it without help and try to do my research on what they might need or what the keywords they might need it for, so I can be able to get what I needed.
Right. So the point being, it's going to be different levels of communication for every single round. So we can't use what we would use for press and media or our employees to approach our stakeholders. So that's one of the key things I want you guys to take away today, is that you're going to have to constantly shapeshift when it comes to your communication styles in your business. So across the board, now you look online and you'll see the 7 C's of communication, the 5 C's of communication. But for me, these are my top 6, because within a lot of these is where I see a lot of the problems for our small businesses. Number 1, those top 2 are like, if I were to star those, structure and clarity, those are the ones that jack everybody up every single time. So with your structure and business communications, again, whether it's internal or external, how are you structuring your communications? Are you being easily understood? Is there a beginning, a middle, or an end? So we're having to go back to grade school to make sure that within our communications, we're actually providing structure. Sometimes I receive emails, whether it's from small business owners or somebody wanting to approach Think Through Media, and I don't know what you're asking for. And it ends up being a little bit of a turnoff. Also, when I think about structure too, going back to PR, press and media, oftentimes folks are pitching their story and the structure is so messed up, we don't understand, like, what are you wanting us to put you on the news for? Or what is your story? Because we'll get an email that's about 3 pages long. When you get hundreds, it's kind of like, what's your story? What's your story? So the structure is really, really bad. So we have to work on structure. And then clarity. This one is the one that's like the star, highlight. Is your message clear, concise, and to the point? One of the things when I went to law school that they would always tell us is like, brevity is key. Brevity is key. What lawyer do you know? It's brief. What lawyer do you know it has brevity like across their forehead? None. But all throughout law school, whether we were writing a brief, whatever we were writing, if it went up to the top, they would always revise it because it's like, you're not to the point. You did 2 pages in this brief and that could have been narrowed down to a paragraph. So you have to think the same in your communications, especially in this world when we're in scroll culture, where we're getting tapped in and we're going to the next thing, 10 seconds, 10 seconds, 10 seconds, 10 seconds. So if somebody's attention span is on that Instagram 10-second mode, and your email, before you get to your point, goes about 3 pages long, you've lost either the customer, you've lost your audience, or you've lost whoever you're trying to communicate to. So you have to be clear, concise, and to the point. So those are the 2 that I would start. And then you have to be consistent. So is your messaging when you're communicating for your business consistent across all platforms and mediums? And we're gonna work on this a little bit later. And so just for me to be brief here and discuss is, what is the key messaging for a lot of your businesses? What are your brand values? Have you even really fleshed that out? Are you saying one thing on LinkedIn and then another thing on Instagram? Are you on TikTok and you know you're not supposed to be ticking or talking? Why are you dancing? I want to see you dance. I want to know that you're a bomb accountant. You know, well, maybe I do want to see you dance because maybe it shows you have a little bit of personality. But like, are you consistent across all platforms? Because there's an expectation from your audience where they expect you to be. So are you communicating to them consistently where your audience is at? And are you doing it with the same tone, the same brand voice, every single time? All right, we'll talk a little bit about that later. And then medium. What tools within your communication are you using to successfully communicate with your various audiences? And I'm so glad this client is not on this workshop because I'm gonna talk about it. Are you using the appropriate mechanisms? So I have a client, God bless her heart. She's amazing. She is super type A. Like, everything is a deck. Everything don't need a deck, you know? She's the one where you're in the meeting and you should, it has been an email. Not even an email, could we have done this in Slack? So what tools are you using to successfully communicate? Because you could lose your audience. So for example, with this client today, I think for Black History Month, we're doing this screening of this Netflix series. It's called The Black Beauty Effect. She's a hair care company. I reached out to the director and was like, we're flying you to Dallas if you want to come. We want to do this screening, and here's the hair care brand. Are you interested? They said yes. So we set a call for today to discuss the event. Client calls, oh my gosh, Leah, you're the, can't wait to get on this call. And she's like, did you send them the PR deck? Did you send them the deck for today's call? And I'm like, the call doesn't require a deck. They just want us to get on the call. Do we even like each other? We're dating. We don't need to get into all of, we don't need to get to marriage and babies right now. I just want to know, why do you want to screen this in Dallas? Why are you doing this during Black History Month? And why is this important? Like, who are you going to have in the building? That doesn't require a deck right now. She made a deck. So medium, I think it's inappropriate, but are you successfully communicating with your various audiences? Some small businesses are email heavy. So sometimes you're sending way too many emails when maybe it should have been a face-to-face call, a Zoom call. So that's what I'm talking about being a successful communicator, like really put an intentionality and thinking about how you communicate across your various audiences. Don't tell on me. And then relevancy. We really won't have time to talk about this today, but how many of you guys are really like nailing your email marketing right now? It goes out consistently, newsletter. We can do better. I don't know if we have anybody online on the chat that's killing it with your email marketing. Maybe do a little MailChimp. But when I talk about relevancy within email marketing, you can tag your audiences. So sometimes you're going to find out, maybe I'm just going to keep using chicken and waffles. I don't know if it's because it's the morning and I'm hungry and so everything sounds good. But maybe somebody just wants the chicken and they don't want the waffles. So don't send me the email that has the chicken and the waffles in it, right? It's all about relevancy, and there's ways to segment your audiences so that you're not oversaturating them with information that they don't want. again, communications is a large pie, and a lot of people just don't sit down and really flesh it out. So relevancy, is your message intended of interest to the audience it's being communicated to? I'll go back to social media. Is your message relevant to a TikTok audience? Are you dancing and I really need to know about your nonprofit? Now, if they're kids, that's cute. But other than that, like, where are you housing your information? And then the psychological rule of 7 plus or minus 2 is we just have to remember, again, we're living in a social media information consumption age where our attention spans are like this. So when you're sending an email, a memo, maybe you're doing a presentation like this in front of stakeholders or pitch competitions, your audience can only hold between 5 to 9 pieces of information at any point in time. So when you go above that, you've lost them. So psychologically, just remember the rule, presenting your message with clarity, and then limit your key points to about 5 and 9. I would go more on the 5 spectrum, because once you get to 9, you've lost me. That's just me. But remember that psychological rule. And you guys will get these slides. Woo-hoo. Okay, so let's talk structuring your communication, and we're gonna do it across several examples of where I see our small business audiences really just kind of, taking a hit. When we talk about structuring communications, this can go for emails, this can go for internal memos, this could go for correspondence to stakeholders, marketing, whatever, across the board. Just like I said in school, when structuring communication, you always have to have an opening, a body, and a closing. But remember, even with all 3 of these components, brevity is key, okay? Just because I give you a body doesn't mean I want an email that's 3 pages long. So in that opening, you're quickly telling your audience what this communication is about. I don't want to find out in paragraph 3 that this is about the screening that you're trying to fly me out to Dallas about. This is in the very first sentence. This is what captures the person's attention, okay? It's got to be short, sharp, and to the point. So what I often do, is anybody in here, you're just long-winded? God bless you, it's okay. It's everybody. You love your business. You want to tell all your business is business, okay? But I'll give you a PR tip. Sometimes it does, you get excited. You want to tell us everything. That's fine. But in that opening sentence, if it's short, sharp, and to the point, my tip is put in bold kind of the most important thing that can pop out to the reader so that they continue to scroll if you do get a little bit long-winded. That kind of gives you a little bit of grace. So for example, if I'm doing a pitch to a TV station, I may pop out adjectives of the entrepreneur, like award-winning mompreneur of 3. I would put that in bold and they're like, okay, well, maybe I'll keep reading because I have some interest there. So if you find yourself being long-winded, which you all admitted you are, there's help for that. That's your tip, okay? Then after you go into that short, whatever it is, again, now you're gonna go into the body. This is gonna be the heart of your message. This is where you're gonna kind of harken back to that psychological 7 plus or minus 2 that we just talked about. Here is where you're gonna talk about all the facts, the figures, the meat of what this communication is about. And you're gonna talk to, it's gonna be relevant to the action you want your audience to take after they read your message. So there's also a call to action. What do you want me to do? Talk to me like I'm 7 years old. What is this about? Don't put all the big words in there. Tell it to me as if we're having a conversation. And then what am I doing with this information? I had a call. She's actually gonna kill me because I owe her an email back. Speaking about communications. She's a social media expert, and we have a podcast episode coming out on 7 calls to action you fail to use every day on your social media. Because every time you post, and I will go outside of that, every time you communicate with somebody, you got to tell them what you want them to do. If you leave that out, you're not telling them, are we following this up with a call? Are you asking me for money? Do you need a partnership? What is the call to action from this very specific communication? And that needs to be on every single piece of communication. I'll give you a couple examples in a minute. All right, so that is the body. Include your key points. Now, how many of us like those emails where it's like all the paragraphs run together?
I hate it.
Okay, so in the body, use your bullet points to make it easier on the eyes. All right, so if you're gonna have those 5 to 7 key points, go ahead and bullet point it out. And then you proceed to your closing, where you do a summary of your communication, briefly reiterating the key points. Sometimes you don't have to, and then communicating that clear call to action. And again, I approach everyone like they're 7 years old. I bold the call to action, I underline it, and I italicize it. Because now there is no question what I want you to do from this particular communication. Does anybody have questions? No, great. So again, when we're talking about structuring communications, that's across the board, not just for emails. Now, email is the #1 offender. So we're gonna talk a little bit about how we can improve our communications, all right? So here are the top email fails from business owners. That's you and me. An unfriendly email experience. What does that mean? That means I open your email, you're yelling at me. Why is it in all caps? Why are you using 50 emojis? I don't even know what this emoji means. I do now, I use it all the time now. But like, what are these emojis? Or you know the ones that really irritate me are the ones you know that are clickbait. So in the subject, it's like, you didn't do this last night. Open now. And I'm like, I know you're trying to get me, but what didn't I do? And then, but I'm opening it and I'm pissed. So it's like, it's a very unfriendly experience. Or again, down to fonts, or how are you structuring the email? We gotta go back to grade school. Do we use paragraphs? Do we have subheadings? You have to make this experience, it is an experience, okay? We can't just treat emails like, I'm just shooting this off. Sorry for the typos, it's coming from my iPhone. Sometimes that does not work, especially as you go higher up in business and you're communicating with those stakeholders, press and media, the folks that really require you to be on top of your game. Sloppiness. Hey, I'm the grammar police. All of my friends know it. They send me stuff on social media like, I know this is gonna irritate you. She said there when it's there. She said your when it's your. I'm that person. If you have those issues, grammar, spelling, you have to take all of these type of communications super seriously. I have some folks that will argue with me on this, but I have sat down with a lot of my colleagues in news and media. And if we open an email and it's disjointed and it's all over the place, even if you have a fantastic story, we delete and we go to the next one. So if this is you and this is the area where you struggle, please hire a copywriter. There's no shame in hiring somebody to handle this part of your business for you, or AI, which we'll talk about later, okay? Another fail is too many messages. What are we sniping on? ChatGPT queen?
We already get.
So sometimes, again, we talked about brevity and clarity. Sometimes in our communications, we get so excited, we have too many messages in one email, in one memo, in one meeting, okay? So you have to narrow that down, that clarity down to one key focus, one key message, and keep it moving. Too many messages frustrates the audience that you're serving. Personalization fails. So some of you guys may have some great AI, or maybe you have, well, we already said we're not doing our email marketing in here, but have you ever had somebody call you the wrong name in an email? Hi, Sherry. Or hi, and then it's like the code because it didn't merge your name in. We're laughing because we've all done it. But that is definitely a top email sales for an entrepreneur. But what I do like, on the other hand, is if you are communicating externally or even within your team, do personalize the email. But if you're sending an email that's going to many people, please change the name. Please change a little bit of the tone per person. Otherwise, that's a fail. This is a big one, failure to align with your brand. So we're gonna do a branding exercise here a little bit later, but each and every single person in this room, you all have different brand values. The characteristics of your brand is different. You have different brand personalities and you have different brand images. And oftentimes I see a lot of business owners trying to mimic what they see as successful for someone else, and it doesn't match your brand. So I'm not gonna sit here and do what some of my colleagues do when our brand is more fun, it's more light, we're educational, we're informative. I'm not dancing on TikTok. One, because I can't dance. But B, because that's not in alignment with who we are. So even within your emails, your audience can tell if you're not being genuine or authentic to yourself. So be sure to align with your brand. And then we already talked about this. It's just too long, just too lengthy. Does anybody have questions so far on our email communications?
I think there's one online.
We have one here and then we'll, yes.
On the personalization, if you were sending a mass email and you not just talking about the name, you mentioned you do want to change it up a little bit per person. That's a lot of work.
Well, it depends. So let's say you're addressing your stakeholders, not necessarily, if you have 10,000 customers, I don't expect that.
Gotcha.
But let's say you're reaching out, we talked a lot about press and media, or maybe there's a specific investor or someone you're reaching out, or maybe you're sending it to 5. But I would be like, hi, Ken, oh my God, how about them Cowboys? And then I would get into the email, just because that allows us to establish more of some trust, more of a personal connection, but I don't expect you to do that across 10,000 customers. Now, if you do have an email marketing system and you're capturing customer information, just that simple, hi Sherry, hi Jennifer is personalization enough, but you have to double check that all of that is merging in correctly. Otherwise you may take a customer off, and you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's what I mean by personalization. But yeah, you're good. We're gonna move forward because I talked a little bit longer on this than I wanted. But emails. So we're gonna move into structure and clarity with our pitches of our business. So how many of you guys here have really honed in and narrowed down your elevator pitch? You got it down. Great. 60 seconds. We got one. Okay. We're gonna let them know. He says, no, I don't even. So the number one question, and this is where I teach at several universities in entrepreneurship, and I love pitch competition. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. But even after you escalate out, your pitch, even if it's not even related to a pitch competition, you are pitching your business every single day. It doesn't have to be standing up here. It could be someone on the street asking you what you're doing. It could be someone at a networking event asking you, who are you? What is your business? Who do you serve? And it is the foundation for all of your communications around your business. Even as we talk about press and media, anytime you're reaching out to them, you are pitching your business, because 9 times out of 10, they've never heard of you before. And so I think about the elevator pitch. We're going to talk a little bit about it today. But in communications, it's just a clear message about your business, product, or service, who you are, what you're looking for, and how you can benefit the customer that you're pitching. It still carries that same structure. When you have an elevator pitch, you still have an opening, a body, and a closing. So same thing, you start seeing these patterns, okay? Most of the really great elevator pitches tell who you are, they tell what you do, what problem you solve, what makes you different from competitors, and then there's a call to action at the end. So I have a short example of what I think is a great explanation for this, and then I'm going to give you guys a chance amongst each other to test it out. Does everybody sound excited about this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because when you introduced yourselves, you only said name of the business and what it is. You didn't really go into who you serve, what it is that you do, and why your business is the absolute best out there. So if you could click example, this is a great short video on right there at the bottom. You want me to click? Oh, yeah, sure. I thought it was the lady in the secret room. So this is the best explanation.
When it comes to introducing yourself to someone new. Hi, I'm Susan, and I'm here today to help you create a killer elevator pitch. Imagine yourself for a moment on an elevator, just you and your target customer. You've got 30 seconds to introduce yourself in a way that's compelling and makes your prospect lean in and say, really? Tell me more. Is that the reaction you get when introducing yourself to someone new today? Inevitably, the mistake that I see people make so often when introducing themselves is they start out with something that is underwhelming and expected. Hi, I'm so-and-so from such and such company, and we do this. Oh no, you just lost them. You sound like everyone else they've ever been introduced to when you introduce yourself this way. You've just wasted the most precious time you have with someone, the first 10 seconds of your introduction. Listen, people have the attention span of a gnat. And unless you open your elevator pitch with something unexpected and interesting, you're gonna lose the listener's attention. So here's a tip that will get people's attention and have them lean in to hear more. And it's pretty easy to do. Start by thinking about what your ideal client wants to do differently that your solution can provide them, and start there. Okay, I'm gonna use an example that most people can relate to. Let's say you're a weight loss coach. In the past, your introduction might have sounded like this. Hi, I'm Wendy and I'm a weight loss coach. But what can a weight loss coach's ideal client do differently if they lose weight? Why would they want to do that? And how would they feel if they could? This is where you want to start your elevator pitch. Now, when someone asks Wendy what she does, she could respond with something like this. Hey, people come to me when they're tired of opening their closet and finding only a few things that fit them comfortably. I'm a weight loss coach, and I help bring peace of mind to my clients knowing that everything's a perfect fit. When you create the elevator pitch from the listener's perspective, you're immediately connecting with them in a way that's interesting and compelling. So give it a try and let me know how it works for you.
You don't know how to get in contact with her, so you're gonna do it.
Like, subscribe.
Okay. So that is the absolute best explanation. And like I said, I have a ton of books and I teach this often at universities for students. But we're gonna let you give this a try, because as far as communications are concerned with your business, you are pitching your business day in and day out. But are you doing it in the most effective manner possible? Can you communicate what you do and who you serve within that 30 to, and I'll give you 60 seconds, because there could be a 60-second elevator ride, but are you doing that within that mark? And can you really hook the person to actually want to do business or learn more? So what we're gonna do, just for a couple of minutes, in person here, we could partner up into 2. Online, I think we're gonna put you into some breakout rooms. And we're gonna give you an opportunity to pitch, probably to someone you don't know, your business. Using the structure you see here on the screen, who you are, what you do, what is the problem that you solve. Again, taking the advice of the video we just watched from your audience's perspective. What makes you different from competitors? What is your unique value? So some folks could say, I'm different from Airbnb because I do X, Y, and Z, all right? And then what's your call to action? Do you want to learn more? Do you want to exchange business cards? Like, what do you want from that? Or just go to my website to learn more. So we're gonna go ahead and split up. We'll have 60 seconds for the first person. Then you will switch 60 seconds for the next person. And then I want you to tell the other person what you got out of their elevator pitch. And you listen to see, did they really pick up the essence of your business? If not, that tells you what you need to go home and work on. Because we want to make sure within these 30 to 60 seconds, we are truly communicating the essence of our businesses. Does that make sense for everybody?
Yes.
Perfect. So you can go ahead. Yes.
How long do you want the breakout room to be?
It can like 4 minutes. Is
Okay,
fine.
4 minutes, Kimberly.
4 minutes. So we're gonna get into pairs here. Everybody's like, I don't feel like moving. Got all this food. Yeah, don't be shy.
I guess right here.
And I.
I didn't want to leave anybody hanging. I just beat you. But I taught about something, not lead off, what's your name and what you do. So I'm just working on one. I think a lot of times though, I hear that they're not doing your team, you know, it's not really your. So I can, the one I just looking at it is better than what I can see. But it is good to know that you've got. Yeah. That new one, I need to just do, just roll off my tongue, but I like to more power.
You've done it.
It's about power. About. I don't ever write anything down. I like that. Yes. It's more like, yeah. All right, I'm telling you. I don't Executive. Amazing. Yeah, they get their phone out. I was never ready to get read out yet. Rather than find your.
We have. Okay. How is everyone?
So wrapping up within your service.
Yeah, actually.
We'll need about a minute, Leah, to finish the breakout.
So if you haven't closed yet, we're about to call everybody back in.
What'd you say, Kimberly?
I'm sorry?
Did you say something?
Oh, I just said that they're coming back in a minute.
Okay, so you guys have 44.
Literally a minute, 49 seconds.
Okay, we got one.
I have no idea what I'm on.
They're all back at this point.
In person. Okay, so we're running out of time, but I just want to see if there was anybody that found the exercise valuable. What did you learn? You want to go? Were you like, yes?
Oh, I was like, yes, I found it valuable.
Let's communicate and go a little bit deeper, but with brevity.
Okay.
Anybody want to comment? Yes.
So it's really hard to explain what we do at our Center for Women in Government. And so, I'm sorry, Elizabeth? Yeah. Elizabeth gave me great feedback, on, kind of speaking a little louder. And then just by doing the exercise, I need to come up with a more concise way to lead in with what we do and then introduce the name of the center, because people get stuck on the name of the center, like, what the heck do you all do? And they're still thinking about that when I start explaining what we do. So I'm gonna switch it around.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Love that.
back online.
Yeah, let's go to someone online. Awesome.
Thank you. We had a couple of questions that had to do, I'm sorry, you're probably not at the Q&A yet. Are you wanting to talk directly about the breakouts?
Share their experience with the breakout, Kimberly.
Okay, does somebody in the virtual room want to speak up? They had lots of comments.
Yes, I would love to. My name is Tamar Bibbs. I am the owner of IV20 Houston here in Houston, Texas. And I enjoyed, even though it was a little brief because we didn't have time to kind of really get into the feedback, but I did enjoy the breakout session and being able to bring it in to 60 seconds after trying to introduce myself. So it was definitely a challenge. I appreciate it.
Congratulations. You did it in 60 seconds. That's what matters. Now you can just keep practicing and practicing and practicing until you get it down pat. So congratulations. One last person before we move forward? Anybody?
I like the feedback I got back from my name is Liz Santamaria, and I was telling her the what, and she said, well, ask it in a question. So being able to get that feedback and implement it is really good to see it from the other person's perspective. So that was very helpful. So thank you for this.
Awesome, awesome. So the reason I had everyone do this elevator pitch is not because it's the Shark Tank thing to do with entrepreneurs, but really to me, and this is just my own personal opinion, like this is the foundation for any time you're going to address or communicate your business to an outside party. Like I said, this happens at networking events. This happens when you open that email and you're trying to communicate with a new investor, or maybe you're trying to go and have, press and media. You have to, in a very concise way, who we are, what we do, who we serve, and what our value is, what makes us different. You have to be able to do that literally off the dome. And a lot of us don't really take that time to get it down pat. And then you can build all your other communication stuff on top of it. But this right here is really the crux of what can really open some doors for you. So I'm glad that everybody was going to do this. I'm going to go through one last point before we open it up for some more Q&A on communication. I want to breeze through this part. Actually, you guys will get the slides, but now that you have the elevator pitch, for many of you who will move forward and do pitch competitions, or maybe your business requires that you fundraise, now that you have the elevator pitch, you're going to move more into now crafting. Oops, I don't know, I need to hit it to the next one. Let's see, does this work now? There, no, now I'm going backwards. Oops. Then you will move forward to creating a pitch deck. There's a 10, 20, 30 rule I have of pitching. I'm going to leave this to you guys to review because we're running out of time. And then I tell you the top slides you will need in a pitch deck as you're approaching any type of pitch competition, an investor, maybe a venture capitalist, what they're looking for. So taking that elevator pitch and now expanding it out to those other stakeholders. And lastly, as we talk about external communications, we've hit on this a couple of times, but now taking that elevator pitch, because now you guys have warmed yourself up to it, and expanding it now more into your why, more into the storytelling aspect of who you are and what does your business do, or maybe your personal brand. You have to master this art of storytelling because we now live in a world where on social media, people want to be entertained, okay? And even in marketing, when you're acquiring customers, it takes 5 to 7 different touch points for somebody to even wants to do business with you. And so in order to get them from just being an onlooker to really wanting to interact and be an actual customer where they exchange money with you for your brand, you have to build some sort of trust. And how do we do that? We do that by our art of storytelling of our business. So storytelling is crafting narratives that captures the essence of your brand. It should be relatable and memorable. It builds trust with your audience, differentiates your brand from others. You create memorable content, increases loyalty, and then eventually it drives sales. And so a lot of the time we see this storytelling, like I said, either through the news or the media or your social media. How many of you guys like social media?
Hello.
Are you dancing on So this storytelling component is not just for social media. This is on your website. I love businesses that tell their brand story on their website because it gives me a little bit of insight as to why you created what you did. Oftentimes, your customer is going to connect with you or your story and then decide to do business with you because they just fell in love with your why. And so you really have to narrow that down. Other external business communications with storytelling is going to be your marketing materials. And again, we keep talking about social media. So the one thing you need to do if you haven't done already, and I'm going to give you a resource for you to do this on your own because we ran out of time and that really makes me mad. You always want to be in alignment with your brand. So if you haven't identified what is my brand voice, what are my content pillars for social media? So when I say content pillars, I typically tell my clients, I only want to see 4 content pillars from you. So are you a mom? Are you educating somebody about motherhood? Do you talk about entrepreneurship? And, you know, do you like to travel? If you post outside of those 4, I want to see it because I want consistency and consistent brand messaging across 4 content pillars because that is doable. Your audience can digest that. Once you start going outside and now I'm going to be talking about food when I'm used to seeing fashion, you're going to lose your audience. And because it is a consistency and a repetitive game, 4 is doable. So does anybody here want to share possibly what their 4 content pillars might be for their brand? You ain't thought about it yet.
My pillars, since I do pediatric concussion rehab, are play, live, and learn because they they address the areas impacted by concussion that I address with kids.
So tell me your name one more time.
Emily.
So Emily's pillars are play, live, and learn. So because Emily is telling me that, when I go to her website, I expect to see some aspect of play, whether that's through her font, maybe that's through the colors on the website, maybe that's through imagery, the live, maybe that's some sort of lifestyle photos or some sort of Instagram reel that showcases that pillar, and then learn. I want to be educated. So maybe there's some infographics, or maybe there's some thought leadership from Emily or some other folks at her organization. So after today, I really want all of you guys to go home and think about what are my content pillars, because in this art of storytelling, you take the 3 or 4 pillars and then you weave that into the story that you tell online. When you click into example, you don't have to do that today, but when you're at home, I always love brands like Nike, even Baskin Robbins lately has been on point. But they have rebranded and now they're like really cool. I like the colors. They're doing merch now. So like Baskin Robbins is cool. But even with Nike, you never have to guess what Nike's brand pillars are. You watch a commercial and you know they're there to inspire. Now they're especially for women, they're into like just diversity and inclusion of our bodies. You know, they're there to inspire you outside of just athletics. So you could even name that. And as you're looking at different, whether it's print articles or videos from Nike, they execute that and they do it every single time. We don't expect Nike to go outside of that. You should take that same rail of thought for your brand, okay? So identifying your brand voice, we're gonna proceed with relevancy and consistency. And then, just as a rule of thumb, this is small business owners, you can use AI with everything we talked today. So we talked a little bit about emails, our pitches. So whether that's your elevator pitch, your pitch deck, and social media. Feel free to use ChatGPT, but go back to our first slide on essentials of communication, because sometimes ChatGPT talks too much. What are these words? I mean, that makes me sound amazing. But will my audience understand all of that? So please go back through, proofread, but please, 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 we're in an age where we have to communicate, and you have to communicate fast. Definitely use AI to your advantage as a small business owner, but don't allow it to be the communicator. Still go through and narrow it down, make sure it's clear, make sure it's concise, and make sure that it adheres to your messaging. Because we do have some cons. We've seen some folks that just let AI take over. I've seen it in the press and media world where we're getting AI pitches and it's like, and we delete them. But then we associate that with the person and we're no longer interested in bringing them on. So use a little bit of human with a little bit of the technology and you'll be okay. But that's pretty much everything I have for you guys today as far as communications. It is a big field. Communication spans every aspect of your business, but today I just wanted to touch on several of the things that I see that plagues our small business community. So I will take some questions before we close, online and in person. But like I said, you will get this presentation.
So Kimberly, do you have questions online?
Yes, we had a couple of people ask, how many emails from an organization, a company, is a safe number a week?
Okay, so that really depends on your business. Because there are some consultants, those that are in the service business, where it's okay to send 1 or 2 emails a week. Let's just say you're a life coach or you're a wellness coach, then that's okay. But some folks I've seen using some of those automatic email marketing, like an active campaign, and then some are sending them every single day, and that's absolutely a way to lose your audience. So I would say on average, it really just depends on your business. So that's a hard question, but no more than 1 to 2. And my advice would be just to monitor your open rate within your email marketing system. So that's how you're going to gauge whether the amount of emails you're sending is actually resonating with your customer. If you see that open rate going down because you're sending more, do less. If you see that open rate and that engagement rate go up, then stay at that number and put everything within that one newsletter or that one email that they expect from you once a week. I do believe that small business owners do need to nurture their audiences. After the pandemic, we saw more people increasing their usage of opening their emails. So email marketing became very relevant and very important once again after the pandemic. So if you're a small business owner that has more of a B2C business, please, please, please begin acquiring emails from customers and nurturing that relationship through some sort of newsletter or email with them at least once a week.
A question in here.
Emily has.
Go ahead. Oh,
Yeah, Emily and then.
go ahead.
So what if you're real good with posting on social media all the time, but outside of the email, what is another way to connect with my audience? Because I'm real, like I have a real huge influence on social media, but I'm trying to find another way outside of emails as well to be able to connect with my audience or to gain new customers. Or new
Tell me what your business is.
My business is a vocal coaching business, but I went viral for the period. I went viral for it.
I mean,
but I'm also starting to do acting, musical directing and stuff like that. So I'm trying to find other ways to communicate or to just gain more customers.
So you said outside of social media and emails. I always encourage small business owners to think about collaborations. So whether that's collaborative events that you could host together to bring 2 audiences, we call it cross marketing. So if you guys both have the same audience and you don't mind cross collaborating so that you acquire their audience, they acquire yours. Again, I just keep going back to the pandemic because we had to get really, really scrappy. But that was a way a lot of folks grew their social media followings through those Instagram lives, those LinkedIn lives, virtual events. You're able to do in-person events. People are going nuts for those right now.
You said, what was the last one you said? In person?
In-person, if there's a way for you to do in-person events or some sort of workshop. And always, we have a testimonial business here. Always, 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 if you're doing something in person or even an event like this, having a testimonial from your audience and then recirculating that helps for you to acquire more customers because again, we're here to build trust.
So let's take one more virtual question and one more in person, and then we'll go ahead because it's already after 9. Kimberly?
It's my fault.
That's okay.
I don't have brevity.
We had someone ask if you could define content pillars.
Content pillars define. Really to me, it's just like characteristics or like an identity or even a message for your brand. So let's just say you are, like for myself, I'll just use Think Through Media. If we were to have content pillars, one of our key messaging will be on maybe innovation within communication. We may be thought leaders, so we're always gonna be at the forefront, teaching folks how to do PR, press communications. We're obsessed with entrepreneurs, so that's another one of our pillars. And then we probably have another one that I can't think of right now. But when I say content pillars, that means when we're creating content, whether that's videos on YouTube, whether we're on Instagram, Twitter, whenever we're producing content, it only is going to fall within those 3 or 4 pillars. You won't see Think 3 Media trying to do anything else that anybody else is doing, because we really want to polish our audience and really just kind of brainwash our audience into knowing these are the things that we're known for. And we don't really want any messaging outside of that. Because again, when we're communicating, we really want a clear brand and a concise message of who we are. So that's my best way of explaining it.
Then Emily, we'll finish with you.
My question is, how do you maintain clarity and structure on your website and social media when you have 2 different products with 2 different audiences? So like I'm doing concussion rehab with the kids, like clinical rehab. So my audience is actually their parents, their caregivers. But then I also have educational courses I'll be setting up for other therapists that want to learn how to do what I do, because it's a niche area. So like, how do I keep the message clear? Like,
so that's just gonna take reinforcement. No one's telling you that you have to choose one or the other. And so I love talking about this, because some folks, even when I think about LinkedIn, they're like, I do so many things and I feel like I have to be this one thing. You don't. The key is in that consistency. And the more you post, so you don't need 4 for each. I probably would do 2 and 2 just to keep it clean. But it's being consistent and posting, this is what we offer. And then here we're educating about X, Y, and Z. And your audience will get used to seeing that information from you. So you don't have to pick or choose. It's more about, I'm going to train the audience as to who we are and consistently feed you that information, so that years down the road, they'll see you and they'll tell you what your brand value and what your brand messaging is, because they're so used to seeing that from you. You're very welcome.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. So just really quick, for the person that asked about the content pillar, I believe if you go back to WomenRISE for 2023, Mary Robb talked about social media. I can't remember what month that was, August or September. Yeah, it was in there. She talked a lot about content pillars, so you can go back and rewatch that and add to get even more clarity on what your content pillars are. So just,
and let me give you one resource before we leave. If you guys go, my absolute favorite branding book is called Branding Pays, which who doesn't like to get paid? But so if you go to Branding Pays, that book is excellent. It walks you through your elevator pitch. It walks you step by, it's not a book you rush through. You really do all the worksheets and stuff. It tells you, it helps you formulate your target positioning. And then if you go to brandingpace.com/resources, there's actual worksheets on brand characteristics and attributes where you can actually go through and choose, here are my brand values, here's my brand image, here's my brand personality. And that can help you with those pillars or your website or your lingo. So the absolute best resource out there.
awesome. Well, Leah, thank you so much for speaking. It's a little back.
Thank you, Barbara.
So just a couple of things real quick before we go. Our next WomenRISE is February 13th. We have Nishan Landry, which she's also on today. She's going to be talking about imposter syndrome. And we always, want to deal with that. And then really quick, our Accelerate Her cohort wrap up is January 18th at 3:30. I believe it's virtual, right? And then there's an in-person component afterwards. So I will send the information out in the replay with this, as well as the branding book that Leah talked about, her slide deck, and the recording of this event. And Tracy, do you have anything?
No, I want to thank you, Leah, and just this. we work with Stoke Denton on it, so there is a partnership. And we have 3 of the ladies over there, and I don't know if you know, we have a past accelerator member over on this side of the road. And she was also the Denton pitch competition winner. So anyway, thank you all for being here.
Awesome. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording.